Hey guys, how you doing? This is Manga etc. I'm here to bring the review for Build King Manga Chapter 20 and now apparently the final chapter. So I did a little bit of digging and it turns out I should do a deeper dig, I'm not gonna lie, but from what I found out so far, it wasn't good enough, so therefore it got cancelled. And the mangaka's got to do what he's got to do, so try and wrap things up. Well, now I said at the very beginning this is a review, but I think it's going to be just more of a discussion of what happened in the final chapter, because I don't think it's fair to judge this chapter simply because I feel like the mangaka was trying to tie up as many loose ends as possible. I feel like a lot of stuff that happened in this chapter wouldn't have happened within this chapter if the series was allowed to continue further. So I'm just really gonna talk about what happened in the chapter, what I liked, and boy, that will be it. From my digging, I found out that there will be, because we do even so with all we do still leave off on a cliffhanger within this chapter. So apparently there's going to be like an epilogue chapter to wrap up everything completely, quote unquote completely, but it's looking like this is it, which is disappointing because I was enjoying the series. I hadn't fallen off yet. I'm not saying that I was going to fall off, but it had me and I was enjoying the ride, but the ride's got to come to an end. Making me really disappointed and feeling like I shouldn't have gotten on this roller coaster, literally. But literally, let's go through what happens within the chapter. So on the very first page, the first guy who showed interest in going after Ton and Rengar to see them, he arrives. He's close within the vicinity. Then we have this whole thing with how the area that they in has been heavily damaged, and what's his name again? Smith says he doesn't think that this was caused by Ton, and he's like, who did this? And now I think it was 2x4 who did this, but it could possibly be Rengar as well. So as we go on, the next thing we see is we skip to Rengar and we basically find out that his name's here actually, Connie. I'm just gonna call him Connie for short. He didn't help. It was Rengar by himself. He simply freed himself with his black vigor, which is possibly the most strongest vigor because it's said to be the only one that can defeat Build Kings. That's mentioned later on in the chapter. So after that, we move on to Ton. I said in my previous review for last week that Ton's gone to 50 meters. That should come with a drawback, and it did come with a drawback. He was in pain at the beginning of the chapter, but I feel like the drawback wasn't paid off enough because later on within the chapter he was able to walk around. I felt like he should have been immobile completely. I don't see why they didn't do that and just have 2x4 hop in there and save them anyway. That's something they can do. So we find out just how strong Ton is because even with this other guy using his luck vigor to the many levels that he could, he still wasn't able to withstand Ton's attack, and that's when he starts to get a bit excited about stealing Ton's vigor and possibly Rengar's as well. And now here's the first thing that happens within this chapter that I don't think would have happened if the series was come to an end, and that is the reveal of the old man who comes in there and just basically one shots everything in their path. And now I personally think that Jaru, his name is Jaru, I possibly think that if the series was going to continue, Jaru would have stayed a mystery throughout the arc, would have stayed an observer throughout the arc, and maybe would have heard talks of him, but I don't feel like he would have been fully revealed at this point. So he's revealed. He's first generation master carpenter of carpenters. He's also said to be a national treasure. So that's something that was introduced within this chapter, and another concept that could have been explored as things go on. National treasures. So that's something we could have got later on. That could have been anything really. People, house beasts, structures, anything. National treasures could have gotten. That's a whole nother ball game we could have played with this series, which we're not going to. So an interesting thing that came up during the chapter is that we found out that that we found out that Shovel wanted Jaru to look after Ton and Rengar at some point. And what I found interesting as well is that Shovel, even before they awakened the Vigor, Ton and Rengar, he knew that they had the Vigors of Light and Dark, the golden black Vigor. So then we get a little explanation of Gold Vigor, Black Vigor. And that's when we find out after that Ton, well, I mean not Ton, sorry, that 2x4, all the hype about 2x4 is true, that he really did destroy a house beast, and that when Ton and Rengar went into the house, that's when the Vigors was awakened. But what I found very interesting, the most interesting, and it made sense to why 2x4 was able to defeat a Build King, is because he himself is considered a small Build King. I was like, yeah, wow, I like that. I really did like that. So that's when we get into the bit of the chapter where Ton's able to move around, and I was like, nah, he shouldn't be able to do that. He should have been immobilized and just have 2x4 come in there at the very end and save them. Because the guy, the villain, he's there trying to steal their Vigor. Ton is able to get Rengar and Connie making their way out, and then in hops in 2x4. And he's like, yo, Ton, yo, Ren. It's been a while. How are you? Come. I'm surprised we didn't see the door open. Come inside. Oh, they should have done that, actually. They should have had the door open. Like, come inside, safest place in the world. And then that's where we leave off. So obviously, there is a few things that need to happen to wrap up the arc, but in no ways is this a complete story. And it's a shame because I feel like it was doing well. I guess it wasn't. What I'd have liked it if it continued. I was enjoying it. It was slightly different than your typical shonen, like One Piece, Naruto. Yeah, it was just different, and I was feeling the vibe, but obviously not enough people was feeling it. So there's something else coming, because from my research, from my digging, it's epilogue to Epiphany Cup. That makes sense. On Manga Plus, the app, it says the end. Read more in the graphic novel release. So granted, this says graphic novel and not novels. So I've lost hope that the series is continuing. But like I've been saying for a while, I need to do a bit more digging to find out. But unfortunately, for now, it is the end of Build King. So I really want to know how you guys feel about this sudden end to Build King. Or maybe it wasn't sudden and you knew it was coming. But I would like to know, like always guys, I'm asking for your thoughts and opinions. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. But most importantly, take care. Have a nice day.